All right, this is day 2 for the survey. I'm going to talk about the survey project a little bit, the specifics. You're actually going to propose a survey and give it out to 20 people, as I said in the last video. Then you'll be creating graphs and results for that survey and presenting the survey, and then a short little write-up as well. So let's look through here. For this project, I'm just going to read the first part. For this project, you'll be creating a survey to give to the students at McGinnis. The survey can be about anything you want, as long as it gets approved through the teacher first. So you will need to ask me for permission about the topic. You'll propose a topic, create a draft survey, give that survey to the teacher for suggested improvements, refine, and give the final survey to a total of 20 McGinnis students. First, I need you to propose a topic. In the class, it would just be you getting with a group, and then with that group, you will come up with a topic, and we'll talk about topics here in a second. You will then ask me if that topic is okay to use, and I'll either say no or yes, and then that's what you need to do. For the online, you will come up with a topic, and then email me or somehow contact me and ask if that's okay to use. So topics, you can do as long as it's appropriate, you can do pretty much whatever you want. You want to make sure that your topic is broad enough that you can make 7 questions about it. So if instead of, you want it to be broad enough, so instead of it being about movies, you might make it about media in general. And instead of it being about Spotify, you might make it about music. So you want it to be broad enough that it's actually interesting enough to be able to make actual questions. Or instead of a survey about pizza, make it about food, kind of a thing. But the topics that are done in class have been things like you could do dress code, you could do sports, like do we have enough sports options? Do some sports get preferential treatment over other sports? Are there some sports that are considered more cool than other sports? It's questions like that. Let's see. Homework. You can do one about devices, iPads and phones, and you could do politics. Can get kind of dicey, so I would want to be very aware of the questions you're creating with politics. But if you want to, you can do that as well. So just figure out what you want to write your topic about, and then you'll email me. Once you have gotten your topic okayed by me, then you will create a first draft of your survey, and you will need to eventually have this typed, so you might as well just start typing it. But if you want to write it down on a piece of paper, that's fine for the first draft. For the survey, you need 7 total questions. Of these 7 questions, the first 2 have to be demographic questions. And as I said in the last video, demographic questions are not questions about the topic of your survey, it's questions about the people taking your survey. So, demographic questions that would work would be things like, what is your gender? What class are you in? Those 2, that satisfies your 2 demographic questions right there. But also, if it's specific to your topic, you might make your demographic question also specific to your topic. So like if your topic is sports, your demographic question could be, what sports are you currently enrolled in? Something like that. Let's see, you need at least one, so you need at least one open-ended question. And once again, an open-ended question is a question with an unlimited number of possible responses. So a good open-ended question would be something like, what changes would you make to whatever? Or what is the best thing about this thing? And that gives you an unlimited number of possible responses. Like for dress code, you'd say, if you could make one change to dress code, what would it be? Something like that prompts someone to actually say something other than yes or no, and that they actually elaborate on something or give their opinion. You need at least 4 closed-ended questions, and at least one of them has to be Likert, and at least one of them has to be multiple choice. So you can have 2 Likert, 2 multiple choice. You can have 3 Likert, 1 multiple choice, 3 multiple choice, 1 Likert, anything. But you need at least 4 total closed-ended questions, and at least one has to be Likert, and at least one has to be multiple choice. And I tend to not like yes-no questions. Yes-no questions are almost always better asked as Likert. So to go over it again, Likert is on a scale of 1 to 5. And it's usually 1 is strongly disagree, 5 is strongly agree. So you could say a statement like, I am satisfied with the current, or I think the current dress code at McGinnis is fair. There's a statement. And then you have 1 to 5. 1, strongly disagree. And if you circle that, it would mean I strongly think that the dress code is not fair. And 5 would, if you circled that, it would mean I strongly think the dress code is fair. And then multiple choice. So that would be, what is your favorite kiosk food? And then you'd have A, be Monday, I forget what the foods are, but B, Tuesday, and so on. So there's you just circle A, B, C, or D, or E, or however many options you have. You also need to identify your target population. So if you are trying to find out about McGinnis students, your population would be McGinnis students. If you're trying to find out about politics, it would be eligible voting Americans. I also need you to tell me how you plan to gather your sample. So are you going to just kind of pick someone at random? That would be haphazard. Well, at apparently random, not truly random. But I need you, if you're going to use cluster, tell me that. But figure out what type of sampling you want to use, and you'll need to tell me that as well. Then, once you create those 7 questions, you will give that to me. So you have to ask me for the proposal. You also have to give me your first draft. And I will tell you what changes need to be made from your first draft to your second or final draft. I've almost never seen someone with a perfect survey the first time, so there will almost certainly be changes that are necessary, even if it's just some dumb grammatical thing. Or maybe it's content of an actual question or a few questions. But give me your first draft survey. After that, I will make suggestions for you. You will then create a second draft. On your second draft, and that this needs to be typed now, I will either say that looks good or you need to make more changes, and then that will be your final draft. Your final draft you will then send out to actual students at McGinnis. You need to send out enough copies that you actually receive 20 responses. So if you have it, there's 2 ways to do it. We can either do Google Forms, and you can email it out or send it out somehow. Or just have a phone to somebody and they can answer it on your phone. Or you can actually give them paper copies. If you give someone a paper copy, you'll usually get a response back. But if you email someone a link to a Google form, you may or may not receive a response back from that. So regardless, you need to give enough copies so that you actually receive 20 fully completed responses back. I'm going to really quickly show you how to make a Google form that you can do for this. So you can do it on paper if you want to, but also you can do a Google form, and this is how you do that. So drive.google.com, and then you'll click New, More, Google Forms. And then it gives you this untitled form, and let's just say you want to do it about, I'm just going to make something up, favorite class. Favorite class. You will actually have to, just something weird about Google, you'll have to click here, otherwise it'll still be called untitled form. So then you need to make your questions. Your first 2 questions are demographic questions. So then you'd say, don't say name, by the way. You want this to be anonymous, so do not include name as a question. But you could say class, and you want that to be a multiple choice. That's what it already is. That's good. You do want to make it a required question, otherwise they can leave it blank, and you don't want them to do that. So freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. Then you can either click add question, or I sometimes like to just duplicate that question, and then you need your second demographic question. So for second demographic question, you could say gender, and we're going to just say male and female. Then we move on to our 4 close-ended questions. So the first close-ended question, we're going to make a multiple choice, and we're going to say, what is your favorite class at McGinnis? And we're going to say debate, theology, Spanish, and rec sports. So I actually don't like the questions I'm making here, but just to give you an example of how to make these questions. This is a bad question for a number of reasons. One is that it doesn't include all the possible options. So it might even be better to either include literally every class you could have, or at least every category of class, or leave it as an open-ended question. But I'm gonna leave it like that just to illustrate how to do this. And then you need you can have a Likert question. So you'd say something like, I think sociology is a fun class. From 1 to 5. So we need to label what our 1 means and what our 5 means. So 1 is strongly disagree, and 5 is strongly agree. Again, you can do this on paper, or you can do it in a Google form. I'm just showing you how to do a Google form. You would need 2 more, either multiple choice or Likert questions, but we're going to skip that. So I'm going to skip that. We're just going to leave it as 2, but you'll need 4. And then you need an open-ended question. For our open question, since this is about classes at McGinnis, we're going to say, what class would you like to see offered at McGinnis that is not currently offered? And there you go. If you had just 2 more closed-ended questions, that would be a completed survey. Then you will click send. Click this little link button here, and this is the link to your survey. You then say copy, and you can send it out. So do not send it to the entire student body. I'm not even sure if you can do that, but don't send it out to the entire freshman class or anything like that. Send it out to individual people until you get 20 responses. So then you will just email out that link. Here's the link, this link, and that will take a person to this, and it'll look like this. So then they'll fill it out. So they'll say, I am a sophomore, female, and my favorite class is theology, and I think sociology is a super fun class, so I strongly agree, and I think we should have chess class. I don't know. So there's a response, and then you have a second person answer, and they are a senior male, and they think theology is a great class. They also think that sociology is a fun class, and they think that German should be offered, which it used to be, but it's not anymore. And we're just going to have one more to see what your responses look like. There's a freshman male. They think rec sports is their favorite class, and they think sociology is a fun class, but not the best. And they also think chess should be offered. So now let's look at what this looks like. Once you get your 20 responses back, if you go to the Google form, on the bottom right, you'll see this little edit icon. If you're logged into the same account that you created the form with. If you're not, you will not see this. But if you click edit this form, then you can click on responses tab. Then you'll see all the responses. But if you go to this little green create spreadsheet, and then create a new spreadsheet, create, then it's going to pop out this, and that will be every single answer that you got. And this is where you go to write up and get your results. So in this case, we had all 3 of our people, and this was all me obviously, but all 3 of our people were in different classes. So we had 1 sophomore, 1 senior, 1 freshman, 2 males, 1 female, 2 people preferred theology, 1 rec sports. Most people said so they strongly agree that sociology is a fun class, and only 1 person only regular agreed. 2 people want chess, and 1 people wants German. So those are all your results in this fake survey. And then to create the results, let's go back to your results here. To create the results of your survey, you will need to have at least 1 percentage result. So let's read this, and then I'll show you how to make these. You need at least 1 percentage result, at least 1 bar graph result, at least 1 pie graph result, and you need to represent your open-ended responses. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that here. So your percentage result, you're going to, if you had your first question was class, you would show this as a percentage. So you have you always show all of the possible responses, even if no one said one of the responses. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And in this case, we had we only had 3 responses. So 33% freshman, although if you have 20 responses, each person that answers is going to be 5%. We had 33% sophomore. We had 0% junior, and we had 33% senior. So that satisfies the percentage result there. For gender, if you highlight the title and the responses, you can then go to Insert, Chart, and it will automatically make a column bar chart here. So there would be a bar chart. For a pie chart, you can do the same thing. Highlight the question as well as your responses. Go to Insert, Chart again, but in this case, you're going to switch it to a pie. And you can make it a number of different things. Make sure you have an appropriate, like this would not be an appropriate chart. A line chart would be more for trends over time than it would be for responses like this. So a bar or a pie is appropriate here. You can make it a fancy pie if you want, but that's that. So we have a bar, we have a pie, we have a percentage response, and then mine's actually pretty easy, but I think you're going to find it's more complicated than this. In your open-ended, you need to categorize your responses. In my case, it's super easy. I have 2 chesses and a German. But if you ask people, you might get some people that will say similar things, and then you need to kind of come up with a title of the entire category of that thing and have a running count of it. So mine, it's just 2 people said chess, 1 said German. But if one person said chess and one person said board games and one person said checkers, you might lump those all into like board games. It's kind of up to you how you want to categorize your responses, but that is what it'll look like. And then if you compile all this into one poster, then you're done with your poster. So you just want to have every single question, including demographics, shown on your poster somehow, and at least one has to be a percentage result, at least one pie, at least one bar, and you need to have your open-ended shown. And that's pretty much it. You need to have the title on the poster, and you need to have the names on the back. And afterwards, I have a paper for you. There's going to be a write-up. I'll have some prompts for you, but you'll just write up the results of this, and that'll include questions about what you found. Was it what you thought you were going to find? Were there any surprises? Were there any hard parts about conducting this survey? And that's it. So that's the survey project.